In geometry, section 3.2, we're dealing again with transversals and angles with parallel lines. So last section I told you that something unique happens when you cut two parallel lines with a transversal. And we're going to go over that whole section. So by now you should be an expert in naming the different types: corresponding, alternative interior, consecutive interior, alternate exterior, because now I'm going to tell you how they're related. Now this only applies if the transversal cuts two parallel lines. If it cuts two lines but they're not stated they're parallel, these rules don't apply. Okay? So this is only if parallel. Okay, so only if this is parallel do these rules apply. So corresponding, remember, is the same position, different line. So angle 1 and angle 5 are corresponding. So corresponding angles are congruent. So that means if a transversal cuts two parallel lines and I find corresponding angles, then they are now congruent. So angle 1 equals, this is top left, what? Angle 5, okay? What else? Angle 2 is corresponding with angle 6, so they're now equal. The next one is angle 3 is corresponding to angle 7, so angle 3 equals angle 7. And then angle 4 is corresponding with angle 8. Alright? With the alternative interior angles postulate, is basically stating that if it's parallel, if it's cutting two parallel lines, then the alternating interior angles, so that's the inside opposite inside angles, are congruent. This one is congruent. Alright? So what that means is angle 3 equals angle 6, because they're alternating interior. And then the next one is angle 5 equals angle 4, because they're also alternating interior. Consecutive interior, this is same side on the inside, if you remember. And same side on the inside is telling me this is not congruent, this is supplementary. And supplementary means what? Equals 180 degrees, right? So consecutive is same side on the inside. So angle 3 plus angle 5 equal 180 degrees. So they're not congruent, they're supplementary. And angle 4 plus angle 6 equals 180 degrees. Now, even though this is not as equal as these, this is important too. Because in order for us to solve equations, we need to have an equal sign, or else there's no equation to solve. So anything with an equal sign will help us, especially during proofs and problem solving. So this is supplementary. The next one is alternative exterior angles. So opposite side on the exterior. These are also congruent. Okay? So this is telling me that angle 1 equals angle 8 and angle 2 equals angle 7. So go ahead and pause this, write it down, and then make sure you do your vocabulary. And please remember that this is only if these are parallel. If they are not parallel, then this can't apply. And these are all new postulates and theorems. We have two examples. The first one, it basically tells us that angle 11 equals 51 degrees. And it wants us to find all the other angles. So this is very interesting because we can then, by giving us one angle, because these are parallel, x is parallel to y, that's that sign for parallel. Because these are parallel, we can find the rest of the angles using all the theorems you used here. So if you have any questions, look back on your notes, alright? So we're going to use a combination of the new things that we learned. We do know that angle 11 and angle 15 are what? angle 11 equals angle 15 because they are corresponding. Okay, so angle 15 equals, I'm just going to write it here, 15 is 51 degrees. Okay. And then we know that angle 11 equals angle 12 because of what? Well, because they are vertical angles. Okay? So that means if angle 11 is 51, angle 12 is also 51 degrees. And I know 13 and 15 are what? Supplementary. So I know that 13 plus 15, angle 15, okay, equals 180. And this is because they are consecutive interior. Same side. On the inside. So if angle 13, if angle 15 is 51 degrees, then that means I can subtract 51, and I know that angle 13 equals 129. Okay? So let's find some more. We know that angle 129 and 10 are what? Equal. Angle 13 equals angle 10 for the same reason angle 11 and angle 12 each other, because they are vertical. Right? So this is also 129 degrees. Okay? Now that we found all this four, it just copies onto this four because these are all corresponding. So we know that angle 10 equals angle 14 because it's corresponding. So this is 129. We know that 13 equals angle 17 because it's corresponding, bottom left for each line. So this is also 129. And then we know that angle 15 is equal to angle 16 because you can say corresponding, you can say vertical. By the time we get to the end, there's lots of choices we can use. We can do alternative interior, but we know that this is 51 degrees. So a lot of these reasonings, you can use different ones. This one, angle 11 and 16, are alternating interior, so you could have found that through 16. You could have found alternating interior here. This is, 11 and 16 are alternating exterior. So there's different reasonings for each, but at least as long as your logic makes sense and it works, then I can't argue with you. So you need to make sure that even though you don't have, these exact ones don't count, that you understand the process, how when they gave you one, I was able to find all the rest. So go ahead and try page 152, number 1 through 3, once you write this all down. So numbers 1 through 3, they're going to ask you to find the equations. And then we have one more example. So this is telling me that angle 5 equals 2x minus 10. Angle 5 is 2x minus 10. And they tell me angle 6 is 4, parentheses y minus 25, and angle 7 equals x plus 15. So they want us to find x and y. The problem is that we need to make sure that we link the proper ones, because if I make link angle 5 and 6, I'll have two different variables. So before we even deal with these numbers, let's just deal with the angles and how they relate them. Now they're trying to confuse you here by giving you two parallel lines. Okay? Basically, any of these lines can be a transversal as long as it cuts two other lines. So they can be both part of the parallel line and they can be the transversal. So in this case right here, we have the parallel lines. So what I want you to do is I want you to learn how to isolate. Okay, for example, let's erase this and just look at this. If I know that this is my transversal, and these are my lines, okay? So I'm just drawing this half right here, and this is 5 and 7, okay? If I know that this is 5 and 7, how are they related? Well, this is the bottom left, and this is the bottom left, so angle 5 equals angle 7 because they're what? Corresponding. Okay? Now, let's isolate this way. Let's call this the transversal, okay? And then it's cutting these two. And this is angle 5 and angle 6. Well, I know here that angle 5 equals angle 6 because of this is alternating interior. So do you see that? I just took this first picture and I isolated it to look like that. And then I took this picture and I isolated this so that it just has this top part. When I isolate it, then I can see how they relate to each other. Now, I have two sets where I've included all of them, and then once I'm able to do that, then it's just a process of substituting and solving regular algebra. So, let's start with the first one. The reason why I want to start with this one and not this one is because angle 5 and angle 7 both have x's. If I relate 5 and 6, then this has a y and x and I can't solve. So I want to do angle 5 and angle 7 because they both have x's. I'm going to solve for x, and then when I do angle 5 and angle 6, these two, then I can just plug in x and I only have one variable. Okay, so you need to look for ways where you solve one variable at a time. So angle 5 equals angle 6, so that means I have 2x minus 10 equals x plus 15. I'm going to add 10 to both sides. This gives me 2x equals x plus 25. I'm going to subtract x from both sides, so I end up with x equals 25. So that's my first answer, x. Okay? Now I can do angle 5 equals angle 6. So I'm going to have 2x minus 10 equals 4y minus 25. So here I'm going to plug in x. My x is 25, so 2 times 25 minus 10 equals, and I'm going to take this 4 and I'm going to distribute it. So 4y, and don't distribute it to the second one. 4 times negative 25 is negative 100. Alright? So again here I replace x, and on this side I distributed the y. So now I'm going to continue to solve, just like regular math. 2 times 25 is 50, minus 10 equals 4y minus 100. 50 minus 10 is 40 equals 4y minus 100. I'm going to add 100 to both sides. I get 140 equals 4y, and then I'm going to divide both sides by 4. Okay? 140 divided by 4 is 35. So y equals 35. Okay, this cancels out and I end up y equals 35. So, just to recap, I isolated these pictures so that I can find this, and then I did a series of substitutions in order to get all of this. So if you have any questions on this, I can answer them in class. But go ahead and try page 152 on your own, number 5. Page 152, number 5, and I will see you in class tomorrow.